Hey, this is Steve Halleck with TikToking.com with another video review here. Today I have a Bethune DB25 moon phase. And I just always have to say, make sure you subscribe to the channel and check out www.tiktoking.com. I've got a really awesome selection of watches on there, tons of video reviews, my blog where I talk about all sorts of things, and feel free to hit me in the comments there and here. And let's talk about and learn about cool watches. So let's get into this one. This is really an awesome watch, and I'm glad I can do this video because the pictures I took of it really don't capture this dial at all. But let's get into the kind of coolness of it. So the DB25, I've done a DB28 review, and the DB28 is really like a very futuristic machine. The DB25 is kind of like a futuristic take on a very classic watch, and so the proportions a little bit more classic, the dials and hands and everything are more classic, the movement is a little bit more classic, and it's kind of a really cool mix of a classic watch but by this very futuristic brand. So a lot of people love the 25, and for very good reason. So let's start with this dial. This is this sort of gray silver anthracite color that has this guilloche pattern here, and it's like impossible to describe, and I'm hoping that the video picks it up really well, but it's one of the most beautiful guilloche dials that I've ever seen, honestly. It's like a very, very, very fine pattern and just really catches the light and plays around with it. So I think that ultimately is the kind of coolest part of this watch. But there's a lot going on this dial, a lot of different levels. So from there you go up to this big ring around that's curved and gives a whole other layer to the dial, and there you have these really classic Roman numerals. So that's this fun play on the old and new concept. Of course, the hands are super futuristic shaped, very classic de Bethune, and they're finished to the nines with an incredible polish, and the curve on them is very pronounced. I hope you can see it here. There you go. They're really, really amazing hands. De Bethune makes some of my favorite hands in the business. And check out the black polish. So then, this one is the DB25 moon phase, so obviously it has a moon phase. De Bethune uses a three-dimensional spherical moon, so it's actually an entire ball that rotates. And right now, if you can see, it's half sort of gray and half silver, so this would be a half moon, basically. The stars around don't move, it's only the ball itself turns. So that's the dial. The case is really interesting. It's this kind of multi-part case that's it's pretty big and it's pretty thick for a classic watch, but it's so round and so classic in other ways that it definitely still comes across as a dressier watch. But I've never really seen a case shape and design like this one. And the lugs come out at the very bottom, which helps it be very comfortable on the wrist, because the part that's actually on the wrist is kind of flat and then the watch comes up, rather than, you can imagine if the lugs were up here, there'd be all this space in between the lugs and your wrist, which would not be ideal. The movement is awesome. It's this very classically finished movement with the signature de Bethune bridge, and this is their shock absorbing system. So you can see this, let's turn it over this way. This contraption here basically comes down, and it's almost like a tourbillon bridge that goes across and hooks in there, and that will help absorb shocks, because you've got all of the springiness of these metal pieces that you can see are raised from the bridge as you go down there. And it's their proprietary balance wheel that has these platinum weights on the outside. Really, really cool looking. I deliberately didn't wind it up so that you could see it, but let's wind it now and you can see it spinning. That is something you're not going to see in any other brand. The de Bethune balance wheels are just so super cool. So you can see over here, this is actually a power reserve. That blue line indicates it. That was there, and it went there while I just wound it. You can see it says up there. So a subtle reminder of what fully wound is. So there you have, that's basically it on the DB25. The crown is really cool too. It's this sort of knurled and hammered crown. Really nice to wind. But let me put it on and show you. Also, this typical de Bethune strap, they have these awesome straps that are croc lined. I think I commented on the one that was on the DB28 also. They're really flexible and just feel really nice and make the watches really comfortable right out of the box without a lot of break-in, which I love. Let's put this puppy on. So the proportions of this watch are like perfect. My wrist is just about 7 inches, and the watch fits perfectly. It could be a little bit, my wrist could be a little bit smaller and it would still look good, I think. And definitely 7.5 or 8 inch wrist, it would look great. But I don't mind the size at all, and the height is kind of perfect. It definitely gives this very contemporary look to this really classic watch. So you can imagine this in fairly formal attire, or totally fine with jeans and a t-shirt, which are the types of watches that I love. So again, de Bethune, one of my favorite brands. This is one of their coolest watches. Definitely my favorite DB25 variant, I think. Although there are lots of really great ones. And there you have it. This is the de Bethune DB25 moon phase with this stunning anthracite guilloche dial. And I hope you enjoyed it, and check out tiktocking.com for more.